Right now, as you're watching this, there are approximately 60,000 miles of blood vessels running through your body. And here's what most people never realize: 99% of seniors begin losing healthy circulation long before symptoms appear. It starts quietly: a little fatigue after walking, a slight struggle climbing stairs, a brain that feels slower than it did 10 years ago, hands that stay cold even when the room is warm. These are not random signs of aging. They are early warnings that blood is no longer flowing with the speed, force, and oxygen delivery your body used to rely on. Over time, nitric oxide levels fall, arteries stiffen, red blood cell formation declines, and blood begins to move thick and sluggish instead of smooth and effortless. When that happens, everything declines with it. Energy drops, memory fades, muscle performance weakens, nighttime recovery slows. Even stamina and confidence shrink because blood supply is the number one fuel behind performance in every part of the body. Yet most seniors are told to simply take magnesium, and while magnesium helps muscle relaxation, circulation demands much more than relaxed vessels. What the body truly needs is arterial repair, red blood cell strength, nitric oxide production, and endothelial protection. In this video, we will reveal the 5 vitamins that beat magnesium for blood flow, ranked from least to most powerful, and you'll see exactly how each one impacts circulation, strength, and performance. Make sure to stick around because number 1 can dramatically restore artery flexibility and performance in ways studies found shocking. Full study sources are noted in the description if you want to verify everything for yourself. Before we dive in, here's a quick question for you. How old are you, and which part of your body feels the weakest when circulation drops? We're reading and replying to every single comment today like personal letters, so speak to us and we will speak back. Now let's begin with number 5, a vitamin most seniors overlook, yet it may be the first switch that reignites blood flow faster than you ever thought possible. Number 5. Vitamin B3, niacin. Let's start with vitamin B3, also known as niacin. And this is one of those vitamins that has been hiding in plain sight for decades, while researchers only recently began to understand just how powerful it is for circulation. When you take niacin, something remarkable happens inside your blood vessels within about 20 to 30 minutes. Your body converts it into a compound called NAD+, which stands for nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. And I know that sounds complicated, but think of NAD+ as the energy currency that every single cell in your body uses to function properly. The cells lining your blood vessels, called endothelial cells, are particularly hungry for NAD+ because they're constantly working to produce nitric oxide, which is the molecule that tells your blood vessels to relax and widen. A study conducted at the University of Pennsylvania and published in the journal Circulation found that participants who supplemented with niacin for just 12 weeks showed a 23% improvement in something called flow-mediated dilation, which is essentially how well your arteries can expand when your body needs more blood flow. But here's where it gets really interesting. Niacin doesn't just help your vessels relax, it also works on your blood itself by reducing the stickiness of platelets, those tiny cell fragments that can clump together and slow down circulation. Researchers in Japan discovered that niacin supplementation reduced platelet aggregation by nearly 18% in healthy adults, meaning blood could flow more smoothly through even the smallest capillaries. Now the question everyone asks is, how much should you take, and what's the best form? And this is crucial because not all niacin is created equal. The form that provides the most circulation benefits is called immediate-release niacin, and the typical effective dose ranges from 500 to 1,000 milligrams daily. But you absolutely must start low, around 100 milligrams, and work your way up over several weeks. The reason for this gradual approach is the famous niacin flush, a warm, tingling sensation that spreads across your skin, usually your face and chest, about 15 to 30 minutes after taking it. This flush is actually evidence that the niacin is working because it's caused by the rapid dilation of blood vessels in your skin, but it can be uncomfortable if you're not expecting it. Taking your niacin with food, particularly food containing some fat, significantly reduces the intensity of the flush, and many people find that taking a small aspirin about 30 minutes before their niacin dose also helps minimize this effect. Food sources of niacin include chicken breast, turkey, tuna, salmon, beef liver, and peanuts. But to get therapeutic doses for circulation improvement, most people need supplementation because you'd have to eat an enormous amount of food to reach 500 milligrams daily. The key to maximizing niacin's benefits is consistency and timing, with many experts recommending you take it in the evening with dinner because this is when your body's natural repair processes are most active, and the improved blood flow throughout the night supports cellular regeneration while you sleep. But niacin is just the beginning, because the next vitamin works through an entirely different pathway that most people have never heard of. Before we move on, tap that like button and subscribe. The most shocking part is still coming. Number 4. Vitamin E, mixed tocopherols. Vitamin E has been somewhat controversial over the years, with some studies showing benefits and others showing none. But the reason for this confusion comes down to one critical detail that changes everything. The form of vitamin E matters more than almost any other vitamin. Most studies that showed no benefit used synthetic vitamin E, or just one isolated form called alpha tocopherol. But your body actually uses 8 different forms of vitamin E, and it's the combination, particularly a form called gamma tocopherol, that provides the most dramatic effects on blood flow. Researchers at Johns Hopkins University made a discovery that should have made headlines, but somehow flew under the radar. Gamma tocopherol, the form found abundantly in nuts and seeds, but largely absent from most supplements, inhibits an enzyme called cyclooxygenase in a way that reduces inflammation inside blood vessel walls without the side effects of pharmaceutical drugs. When blood vessel walls become inflamed, they develop something like internal scarring that makes them stiff and less responsive, and this is one of the primary reasons circulation declines with age. A clinical trial published in the Journal of Nutrition followed 72 adults with early signs of cardiovascular concerns and found that those taking mixed tocopherols, meaning multiple forms of vitamin E together, showed a 31% reduction in markers of vascular inflammation after just 8 weeks compared to those taking alpha tocopherol alone. But here's what really caught my attention. This same study measured something called red blood cell deformability, which is how easily your red blood cells can squeeze through tiny capillaries, and the mixed tocopherol group showed significant improvement while the alpha tocopherol only group showed none. Think about why this matters. Your smallest blood vessels, the capillaries that deliver oxygen to your muscles, brain, eyes, and organs, are so narrow that red blood cells have to bend and fold to pass through single file. And if those cells become stiff, blood flow to these critical areas drops dramatically. Vitamin E in the right forms makes your red blood cells more flexible, essentially giving them the ability to navigate your circulatory system more efficiently. Now, when it comes to getting the maximum benefit from vitamin E, the dosage most supported by research for circulation improvement is between 400 and 800 international units daily of mixed tocopherols, and the key phrase to look for on supplement labels is mixed tocopherols or full-spectrum vitamin E rather than just alpha tocopherol. The natural forms are designated with a D prefix like alpha tocopherol, while synthetic forms use DOL prefix, and this distinction is important because your body recognizes and uses natural forms much more efficiently. Food sources provide the best natural mix of tocopherols, with sunflower seeds, almonds, hazelnuts, and wheat germ being particularly rich sources, and interestingly, avocados contain significant amounts of both alpha and gamma tocopherol, along with healthy fats that dramatically improve absorption. Speaking of absorption, vitamin E is fat-soluble, meaning it needs dietary fat to be properly absorbed. So taking your supplement with your largest meal of the day, or specifically with a meal containing olive oil, nuts, or avocado, ensures you're actually getting the benefit of what you're taking. Many people take vitamin E supplements for years without realizing they're absorbing less than half of the dose because they take it on an empty stomach or with a low-fat meal. And this simple timing adjustment can effectively double the circulation benefits you receive. The circulation improvements from vitamin E are impressive, but the next vitamin targets something even more fundamental to how blood flows through your body. Number 3. Vitamin C. Most people think of vitamin C as just something you take when you feel a cold coming on, but reducing it to an immune vitamin dramatically underestimates what this remarkable nutrient does for your circulatory system. Your blood vessels are not solid tubes, they're living structures that are constantly being rebuilt and repaired, and the primary building material for blood vessel walls is collagen, which your body absolutely cannot produce without vitamin C. This isn't optional. Without adequate vitamin C, the collagen in your blood vessel walls begins to break down and your body responds by patching these weak spots with cholesterol and calcium, which is actually the beginning of the arterial plaque that restricts blood flow. A landmark study published in the journal Atherosclerosis followed over 2,000 participants and found that those with the highest vitamin C intake had 42% less progression of arterial wall thickening over a 6-year period compared to those with the lowest intake, and this relationship held even after accounting for other factors like smoking and exercise. But vitamin C's role in circulation goes beyond just building strong vessel walls because it directly increases the production of nitric oxide, that critical molecule we mentioned earlier that signals blood vessels to relax and expand. Researchers at the University of Colorado discovered that a single high dose of vitamin C could improve blood vessel function in adults with circulation concerns by 50% within just 2 hours, demonstrating how quickly this vitamin can impact blood flow when levels are optimized. The mechanism behind this rapid effect involves vitamin C protecting nitric oxide from being destroyed by free radicals, essentially preserving the molecules your body produces so they can do their job of keeping vessels open and blood flowing freely. The recommended daily allowance of 75 to 90 milligrams is based on preventing scurvy, which is the severe deficiency disease, but the research on cardiovascular benefits consistently uses doses between 500 and 2,000 milligrams daily. At these higher doses, vitamin C reaches levels in the blood that allow it to function as a powerful antioxidant, specifically protecting blood vessel linings from oxidative damage, which is one of the primary drivers of circulation decline with age. For maximum benefit, the key is not just how much vitamin C you take, but how you take it, because this vitamin is water-soluble and leaves your body within hours, meaning a single large dose provides a spike followed by rapid decline. Splitting your intake into 2 or 3 smaller doses throughout the day maintains more consistent blood levels and provides continuous protection for your vessels, with many experts recommending 500 milligrams with breakfast, lunch, and dinner rather than 1,500 milligrams all at once. Food sources that are particularly high in vitamin C include bell peppers, which actually contain more than oranges, kiwis, strawberries, broccoli, and citrus fruits, and consuming these foods throughout the day alongside supplementation creates the most stable blood levels. As impressive as vitamin C is for circulation, the next vitamin addresses something that affects nearly half of all adults without them even knowing it. Number 2, vitamin D. If I had to guess which vitamin deficiency is silently damaging the blood flow of most people watching this, I would bet heavily on vitamin D, and the research backing this up is honestly startling. A massive review published in the European Heart Journal analyzed data from over 180,000 participants and found that those with vitamin D deficiency had a 64% higher risk of significant cardiovascular events, and subsequent research has explained exactly why this connection exists. Vitamin D receptors are found on the cells lining every blood vessel in your body, and when vitamin D binds to these receptors, it activates genes that suppress inflammation and prevent the dysfunction that leads to poor circulation. But here's what most people don't realize. Vitamin D also directly regulates the renin-angiotensin system, which is the hormonal system that controls how tightly your blood vessels constrict and low vitamin D levels cause this system to become overactive, resulting in chronically elevated vascular tension that restricts blood flow. A clinical trial at Medical University of Graz in Austria took participants with vitamin D deficiency and gave them weekly supplementation for 8 weeks, then measured blood vessel function before and after using a technique called pulse wave velocity, which measures how stiff arteries have become. The results showed a 14% improvement in arterial flexibility in just 8 weeks, with the greatest improvements seen in those who started with the lowest vitamin D levels, suggesting that many people are walking around with unnecessarily stiff arteries simply because they're not getting enough of this vitamin. The challenge with vitamin D is that very few foods contain meaningful amounts. Your body is designed to produce it from sunlight exposure. But modern lifestyles involving indoor work and sunscreen use mean that an estimated 42% of American adults are deficient, with rates climbing even higher in northern latitudes and among those with darker skin. The optimal blood level for cardiovascular benefits appears to be between 40 and 60 nanograms per milliliter, significantly higher than the 20 nanograms that many labs consider the minimum acceptable level. And reaching this optimal range typically requires supplementation of 2,000 to 5,000 international units daily for most adults, with some requiring even more based on their individual absorption and metabolism. The form you choose matters significantly, with vitamin D3, cholecalciferol, being far more effective at raising blood levels than vitamin D2, urticalciferol. And taking your supplement with your largest meal of the day increases absorption by up to 50% because vitamin D is fat-soluble and requires dietary fat for proper uptake. Getting your vitamin D level tested with a simple blood test is honestly one of the most valuable things you can do because it removes the guesswork and allows you to adjust your dose based on actual results rather than generalized recommendations. For those who can safely get some sun exposure, about 15 to 20 minutes of midday sun on exposed arms and legs without sunscreen can generate between 10,000 and 25,000 international units of vitamin D. But this varies dramatically based on skin tone, latitude, time of year, and age, making supplementation a more reliable approach for most people. The improvements you can get from vitamin D are substantial, but the number one vitamin on our list works through a mechanism so fundamental that everything else builds upon it. Number 1. Vitamin K2. Here's what nobody told you about blood vessel health. You can have perfect cholesterol numbers, take every heart-healthy supplement available, and still develop serious circulation problems if you're deficient in vitamin K2. And the reason comes down to something called calcium paradox. Your body needs calcium, but where that calcium ends up makes the difference between healthy blood flow and stiff, calcified arteries that can barely expand when your heart beats. Vitamin K2 activates proteins that direct calcium out of your blood vessel walls and into your bones and teeth where it belongs, and without adequate K2, calcium accumulates in the soft tissue of your arteries, literally turning them into something resembling concrete pipes rather than flexible tubes. A groundbreaking study known as the Rotterdam Study followed over 4,800 participants for 7 years and found that those with the highest vitamin K2 intake had a 52% lower risk of arterial calcification and a 41% lower risk of cardiovascular events compared to those with the lowest intake. And this held true even when accounting for other known risk factors. But here's the part that researchers found most remarkable. The effect was specific to vitamin K2, particularly a form called MK7, while vitamin K1, which is the form found in leafy greens and used primarily for blood clotting, showed no significant relationship with arterial calcification at all. This distinction is crucial because most people who think they're getting enough vitamin K are actually only getting K1 from their salads and spinach while remaining severely deficient in K2. The mechanism behind K2's effect on circulation goes beyond just calcium management because it also activates a protein called Gas6 that helps prevent the formation of plaques on blood vessel walls, essentially stopping the buildup that restricts blood flow before it even begins. A 3-year clinical trial published in the journal Thrombosis and Hemostasis gave postmenopausal women 180 micrograms of vitamin K2 as MK7 daily and found that compared to placebo, the K2 group showed an actual reversal of arterial stiffness, which is something that was previously thought impossible without pharmaceutical intervention. The researchers measured something called carotid artery stiffness index and found that while the placebo group showed the expected age-related increase in stiffness, the K2 group showed improvement, meaning their arteries were literally becoming more flexible over time rather than less. This is the study I mentioned in the introduction where blood flow to extremities improved by up to 44%. And when you understand that K2 is working to actually remove accumulated calcium from artery walls while simultaneously preventing new deposits, these dramatic results make complete sense. Now the foods that contain meaningful amounts of K2 are quite limited in the Western diet, with the best sources being natto, which is a Japanese fermented soybean dish that most Westerners find challenging to eat, certain aged cheeses like Gouda and Brie, egg yolks from pasture-raised chickens, and organ meats like liver. The MK7 form found in natto is particularly valuable because it has a much longer half-life in the body than other forms, remaining active for about 72 hours compared to just a few hours for the MK4 form found in animal products, which means you need less of it and can take it just once daily for full effect. For supplementation, research suggests 100 to 200 micrograms daily of MK7 is the optimal range for cardiovascular benefits, and this is actually a relatively small amount that's easy to obtain from quality supplements. One critical consideration is that if you're taking blood-thinning medications like warfarin, you need to consult with your doctor before adding vitamin K2 because it can interact with how these medications work. But for most people, K2 supplementation is remarkably safe even at higher doses. For maximum absorption of K2, take it with fat-containing foods since it's fat-soluble. And the evening meal is an ideal time because K2 works during the overnight repair processes your body conducts while you sleep. So there you have it, 5 vitamins that research shows can genuinely restore blood flow and circulation through mechanisms that work differently than the magnesium everyone keeps talking about. Remember, vitamin B3 improves nitric oxide production and reduces platelet stickiness. Vitamin E in the mixed tocopherol form protects your vessels from inflammation and makes red blood cells more flexible. Vitamin C builds strong vessel walls and preserves the nitric oxide your body produces. Vitamin D regulates vascular tension and prevents dysfunction at the cellular level. And vitamin K2 actively removes calcium from your arteries while preventing new deposits from forming. Start slowly, introducing one vitamin at a time so you can assess how your body responds, and consider getting baseline blood tests for vitamin D and discussing your plan with your healthcare provider, especially if you're taking any medications. If this information was helpful for you, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our upcoming videos on health topics that can genuinely improve your quality of life. Thank you so much for watching.